Tech Team Weekly. This show may contain mature language and themes.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Tech Team Weekly. Somehow it's already the end of January. I don't know where 2022 is going. It'll be Christmas and 2023 before we know it, I'm sure. Joined as usual by my co-host Gwen Diagram from the world of management. Hi Gwen.
Hey, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, not bad. I guess we're now partners in management. We'll have some of our... We spoke for like 20 minutes off air at the end of last episode about how things were actually going that we couldn't talk about. I'm sure there'll be plenty more opportunities for that. And joined also by Sanj Paswani. How are you doing, Sanj?
Hello, I'm good. Thank you, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. As we've just been discussing, we're both being afflicted by storms up north that haven't reached London yet. So hopefully we can take the brunt of it for you.
Please do. That'd be great.
We'll be doing all our usual segments today. We're going to go through a quick stand-up of what we've all been up to in our work and personal lives. And then we'll go into this week's epics. Epics? Just the one epic. We're going to be talking about habits versus goals. How do you set habits? How do you break bad habits? How do you, should you set goals or not? How the two things compare. So that's our main epic for today. And we've got loads of feedback in there from our lovely audience as well. So let's crack straight into the stand-up.
The stand-up.
Last night I went through the Agile on the Beach submissions with Steve Smith and Alan Kelly last night. So the dynamic between the speaker committee, so it's Chris O'Dell, Steve Smith, and Alan Kelly and I, is amazing. Chris O'Dell and Steve Smith are really sensible and organised, where Alan and I are absolute fucking chaos. So yeah, it's just always entertaining. Steve is just always head in hands, like, fucking hell, you two are insane. But yeah, there's been great submissions. This year is going to be banging. Can't wait. So went out with the website crew, which was my old team, on Wednesday night, and it was so nice to see them in real life. Charlie and Mark listened to the podcast, which was so nice. So like, hey, Charlie and Mark, I love you so much. So this week, I signed up the engineering leadership team to LeadDev Together. I am so excited about this. It's like a 9-week course for leadership teams to do together. Starts next week. Cannot wait. It's going to be banging. And I'm also doing a scaling leaders course, which is through Tech Nation. But that's really interesting. So I'm not used to hanging out with new humans and talking to them. And it's pretty anxiety kind of thing. I'm always like, oh God, am I saying stupid things? Especially because my opinions differ to a lot of people's, it feels like. So I'm always like, oh God, they think I'm stupid. But I don't know. I'll get used to it. So yeah, that's me, Sanj.
Hey, that sounds like one hell of a week. I always assume I'm stupid and I'm usually right. So I can deal with it. It's fine. I'm doing well. I'm liking the new format. I think we've had the feedback. Most of the feedback anyway has been, shorter is okay. It certainly makes our lives easier. Feels a lot more relaxed. I don't know about you two, but it does to me anyway. Work's going well. I've been working on a tool at work, and I really love building tools, actually. I would love to one day be on like a platform team or something, or a team just developing like internal tools. But so I'm having fun with that. But it's been humbling because I went into it like thinking, oh yeah, I'm like amazing. I'm the best. Like, this is going to be a piece of cake. And it's like, it's humbled me because like I've made so many stupid mistakes, but it's fine. It's in a good place now. Got my new chair. I was, that was a good suggestion from the both of you, and it's really good. It's like taking some getting used to, but it's doing wonders for my posture.
Amazing.
Yeah, I like it. I'm now one of the cool chair bros, I guess. And yeah, one thing I didn't that I really wanted to do last week but didn't get around to was just want to give a shout out to like a few of the things I watched. There were recommendations from people, so I watched Parasite, which is this Korean film which I really like. That was really messed up. And then I watched the Mr. Robot series. That was like prompting from Neil and Kev, and yeah, I loved it wholeheartedly. Recommend them. So thanks. And over to you, Neil.
I could do a podcast just about Mr. Robot. The number of ways in which it's not afraid to just try new things. Like there's an entire episode that's just in one take. There's an episode that's got no dialogue at all. It's just everything is done through like I mean, there's like text messages and stuff to get around that. But like, there's one episode that's filmed as like a 3-act play. It's literally like front on, as if you're watching a play. There's one episode where the character has a break from reality and thinks he's woke up in an 80s sitcom with Alf. There's so much going on in there. There's just like, they're not afraid to try new ideas. It's really good. As for me, it's the end of my first month in my new job, which has gone very quickly. And they do say you should try to avoid rocking the boat in your first 30 days. I've had to do a bit more rocking than expected because I've been trying to find like what's going on at the moment so I can learn like how to set objectives and strategy for the year. One of those big things is we really need to do some hiring. There are some gaps in our team, which means people are already very stretched. Before we try to start doing new things, we need to get the team up to the size that it needs to be. So I've actually put together 3 new role specs, which will be going live probably sometime this week. I'll let you know, advertise it on all the usual channels, what we do. In major first world problems, I can't get Postman, my old employer, to stop paying me. They gave me a full salary in December, which was a bit of a surprise because I finished just before Christmas. I thought maybe they're just being nice. But they've just sent me a full paycheck for January, which is actually really annoying because I now need to find a way to get that money back to them, but also let the government know that that money didn't really come to me, because otherwise they're going to think I'm being paid like 150 grand a year and I'm going to lose all my childcare benefits, and it's not going to be good. One thing that is good, though, is there's finally a date for the Steam Deck to go on sale, which is the handheld console version of Steam, which I'm in the queue for. I don't think I'm very near the front of the queue, and there are shortages due to, micro component shortages worldwide or whatever. So I don't think I'm going to see mine for the summer, but I'm looking forward to having one more place where I don't have time to play games. Also, I've ordered some first swag for the podcast. The website Sticker Mule had a sale on for like get 10 stickers for £1. I'm like, yeah, sure, let's see what they look like. So I've ordered a few of those. Maybe we'll send some around to our patrons to finally give them a reward for supporting us each month. But yeah, that's basically how my week has been.
This week's epic.
This week, Sanj found a really awesome article from fs.blog on habits versus goals, where it promotes the ideas of habits over goals, stating the problem with goals. Firstly, goals have an endpoint, which means it's easy to fall back into old habits. Another downfall of goals is sometimes we just don't have control over everything to influence the goal, such as an injury derailing a fitness goal. And goals also have the problem of when you actually set the goal, it can feel like you've actually achieved the goal. And speaking about the goal to other people makes this even worse, because it can totally make it feel like, okay, cool, I've set it, it's done. So this article strongly prefers habits over goals and highlights habits as a form of kind of automation towards goals. As an example, a goal of writing a book over 4 months sounds bloody terrifying, but writing 500 words a day, well, that's just a lot easier. And it's a lot easier to overshoot as well. Habits rewire our brains. After 30 days, your brain accepts the habit as normal. So instead of pushing yourself to hit the goal, it will become part of your life. On that topic, habits are for life. Apparently, habits make up 40% of our waking hours, which is kind of terrifying that we've automated ourselves quite that much. And the article finishes up with a strong conclusion of, when seeking to attain success in our lives, rather than concentrating on a specific goal, we would do well to invest our time in forming positive habits, which is quite nice. So, habits versus goals is the thing, I guess. Sanj, you found the article.
I was really inspired by this one. I mean, I was just inspired by the headline, and I thought, well, so this will be an interesting read. And yeah, I really liked it. It definitely lit a fire in me. I think it hit me at definitely the right time, because I'm like, I think I'm trying to hit my goals as well, and I think I really appreciate like the way it frames, the building of positive habits to sort of incrementally get there.
Totally. It was good timing for me as well, because I still watch driving YouTube channels, and one of them this week, Conquer Driving, maybe it was last week, was speaking about how setting goals to like sort out your driving license is really, really bad. And if you're an instructor and you set goals for the student, it's like more harmful than good, because goals you have so much chance of missing, and that really disheartens a student.
Yeah, I know you mentioned fitness goals in your intro. I had the same thing. Obviously, I talk about Peloton all the time. I've always had like a monthly goal of I'm going to try and cycle this many miles in a month. Normally, it's like 500 miles. And December, as I said last week, December was pretty bad for me. I had tonsillitis at the beginning of the month, and then got COVID in the middle. And it got to the point where I got COVID, and I was saying to myself, but I could do half an hour on the bike, right? And actually, I did a lot of reading. That's a really bad idea if you've got COVID. One of the things it's doing is it's attacking your lungs. Your lungs are crying out to be rested. And actually, trying to push through it would have been disruptive. It's like, I had to just accept, okay, 500 miles a month is entirely a goal that was set by me. There is no problem with me just stopping that and picking up the slack in January or whatever. And this is a really good time of the year to talk about it, because a lot of us are now working on like our annual objectives or OKRs or stuff at work. I'm trying to set goals for a team of 6. And you mentioned a lot of the bad sides with goals, particularly around the fact that there are time pressures. You've got to do it by this date because we've said so, because the calendar is going to turn to another page, which isn't what you should be using as a motivator. And one of my favorite books around goals and goalposts, it's a book by Sean Aker called The Happiness Advantage. He does a really good TED talk that goes with this. And it's all about how we've got everything back to front, particularly around happiness. We'll say, if I do this, then I will be happy. If I earn 10K more, then I'll be happy. The problem is you get to that point and then you're like, well, now I can take on a bigger mortgage. So now I want to earn a bit more than that. And you keep moving the goalpost yourself. And a goal is either, like you say, it's either something you get over the line, you're like, right, I need never do that again. Or you're just like, well, now I need to set myself another goal, and it's never ending. And you don't get that sense of achievement.
Yeah. And a big problem actually is bad habits, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
How do we break them?
Yeah. And figuring out what is a bad habit as well. I mean, there's the obvious things like smoking is a bad habit and stuff like that. But so when I wake up in the morning, I go on my phone, I go outside, I have my coffee and I vape, and I really appreciate that time. But it's a bad habit because I'm just sitting on my phone looking at trash and vaping, which is bad. And I mean, coffee can't be bad, surely, because it's God tier, wonderful. But yeah, like, I don't know, people meditate in the mornings and stuff like that. Meditation isn't for me though. But yeah, to know.
Yeah, this is something I had a lot of experience with, again, over Christmas in our break, when I said I was going to take a break from social media, which I'm still mostly away from. And it's going to be hard to talk about this without it sounding like an ad, but I've been using a great app called Freedom, which is quite well known. It's basically one of these ones that sits on your computer and on your phone as like a proxy, and you can tell it what sites do you not want to go and see. And you can be really stringent, say like, I never want to go on Facebook, or I only want to be able to go on Facebook between 6 and 7 in the evening. And it will then push back when you try and do those things. It'll say, nope, you can't come in, you're not allowed. Or maybe you need that at the beginning, like I did. Like I needed that. So, the muscle memory of going, I'll just open my phone and go on Facebook. And it goes, nope. And you're like, yep, okay, great. Once you start to form that habit of like, maybe I don't need to go on Facebook so much, you can change the settings on the app to be like, rather than a block, it's like I think they call it like a pause. Like you try to go to it and it just comes up with a page saying, are you sure you really want to go to Facebook? And it gives you that time to step back and go, you know what, you're right, I really don't. And it's that softer touch of, again, like, okay, now I'm going to start to take more control of this myself. And now I build the habit of like, I'm not going to type the word Facebook as my browser because I don't want to go there because good things don't happen. And this isn't just on Facebook. I use that for a whole load of sites. I stop it going on BBC News all hours of the day. And it's just like, sometimes you just need that help to break a bad habit, and then you start to form the good habit or new habits.
I think it's kind of easy to lie to yourself about habits as well. So I see how much time I spend on Reddit a week, and it's terrifying. However, I'm like, well, I'm learning new things all the time, so maybe it's not that bad. And I mean, the amount of time I spend on Reddit is bad. No one should spend that much time on Reddit. But yeah.
Do you think are things like Reddit and other social media platforms, do you think they're like rotting our brains away? Like, are we just wasting our lives? Are they bad habits?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This comes back to the documentary. I think the Social Dilemma that I think we spoke about on a previous episode, where these sites are they are building platforms that are designed to be sticky and to increase engagement. They are measured on how long can we keep people on the site, not is it a good idea to keep people on the site for this long, or is it the right thing to do to push stuff in front of someone's eyes that we know will possibly upset them, but it will keep them engaged for another half an hour.
I read a really interesting thing because, there's been a lot of bashing about the energy that cryptocurrencies consume, but someone did a side-by-side comparison of the energy that social media sites are consuming. And you can imagine, what it'd look like. Social media sites are consuming way more energy than cryptocurrency ever could, and no one's pushing back against that, and saying, well, maybe we should all stop, surfing Facebook, Reddit, and Twitter all day long.
Shit. I hadn't thought about that. That's really interesting.
But let me ask you too, have you ever, do you have personal experience of like setting good habits or breaking bad habits?
I can offer one. I can offer one for a good habit, which is something that, like, again, something I could have always just done myself and never did, and it was always around saving money. Like the way I used to do, like my salary cycle was, I'd get to the day before payday, I'd see how much money I've got left in the bank, and I'd shuffle that off into savings. Now, some months that wasn't very much, or I was dipping into my overdraft by payday. There's an idea, I can't think who came up with it. I'll see if I can find a link to it because it's a very specific term. It's called pay yourself first. And this is the idea of, you get to payday, the very first thing you should do is just carve a chunk off the top, stick that in a pot. And now if you need to dip into that pot again at the end of the month, it's a shame that you can. But the idea is, if you get that out of the way, then your mindset is immediately on, well, I've actually got this much money to work with for the month, even though you've got that much plus a bit more really in reality. But the idea is, you said at the start about, automating it. I've actually, on Monzo, you can just say on payday, stick this much in a pot, and it just does it. And I don't even have to think about it. It happens, effectively in my head. Maybe I'm getting paid £200-300 a month less than I actually am. But over time, that money in my bank, in my savings, is growing, and I don't have to do anything about it.
I think the probably the most life-changing habit that I formed was around looking after myself. So just around washing my face every night and all that kind of stuff. And it was a habit that I'd never had. And I just didn't know how to look after myself. And clean your teeth for 2 minutes, floss every day, clean your tongue and all that kind of stuff, and building that up. And, I'm so much I'm in such a better place than I was, but I just didn't know that I had to build those habits in. Yeah, which is quite it's fucking basic, isn't it? But...
Yeah.
I discovered this morning that my son has a habit of using my toothbrush. That was a fun discovery. So
no.
habit is to keep a good toothbrush in a drawer that he doesn't know about.
My ex-husband used to do that. He refused to get his own toothbrush, and it used to upset me so fucking much. And I just had to give up because he would just take my toothbrush all the time. And it's why won't you use your own toothbrush, you fucking psycho?
It's the worst. My wife said to me,
horrible.
"Oh, you never told me you couldn't use your toothbrush. Some things don't need saying."
It's my toothbrush. Yeah, sympathies. I understand your frustration there. That's my mouth. It goes in my mouth. Damn it.
I completely agree with both of you there. That's a terrible habit.
Yeah.
Do not use anyone's toothbrush.
Yeah, that's their toothbrush.
Yeah.
So how do you think we could talk more about habits in the workplace then? Because we are so focused on objectives and OKRs and goals. I've been asked to set objectives for individuals that are based off of company objectives, and the company objectives are all really high level things that an individual person in the engineering team might not have control over. We want to get X number of new enterprise customers this year, or we want to increase our logged in user count by 10%. And again, you could always argue that all of your engineering work is contributing towards, we're trying to bring more people in. But one of the books that you got me for Christmas, Gwen, was Dan Pink's Drive, which I've read before. And that's all about having the sense of purpose in your work. And it's if I'm setting arbitrary objectives, why am I doing this? And, could we even have personal habits that we should try and set ourselves for the year?
So I think, this is torturing me. This is how much EOS has apparently infiltrated my brain. But you've got to set them we use rocks in EOS, and so we set rocks. But, it's the whole idea of you put stuff in a jar, and then there's rocks and then pebbles and sand and stuff like that. And it filters down, and everyone has their own rocks, but you've got the kind of company level rocks, and then they get smaller towards there. And so usually you'd be setting goals for teams where they can actually change stuff, and using the main rocks as the base thing. So yeah, we need to change this many customers. How are we going to do that? Is it by providing 5.9 uptime or something, because our uptime is fucking 70% at the moment or something like that. So I guess it's by looking at things that you can actually affect and breaking down the top level goals. But yeah, still, it's all related to goals. I think setting habits is putting in those like checks every day. Like we check the logs every day. Like this is a team habit, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take team habits back to work on Monday and start to talk about those. One of the challenges around habits, I was doing a little bit of reading. I say a little bit, it was literally 5 minutes before we recorded, around how long it actually takes to form a habit. There's a popular myth that it takes 21 days of doing something, but that came off of one person, a scientist called Maxwell Maltz in the 60s, I think. He wrote a book called has lots of those sounds in it, Psycho-Cybernetics. And he said, he tried it. It took him 21 days. And then that number has been repeated based off one piece of data. Some scientists in the late 2000s, led by Dr. Philippa Lally at UCL, did a larger study into how habits are formed of nearly 100 people. I haven't had time to read the details, seeing what habits they were trying to form, but it took them on average 66 days. So a couple of months of doing something every day. It ranged between 18 and 254 days. So it was a wide range. Everyone is different, but you need to be doing something for a couple of months before it counts as being a habit.
We had feedback from Tristan, which was some of the, was it goals or habits that he wanted to? This is goals, I think. So reduce 30-minute meetings to 20 when possible. I love that. Leverage the Slack huddle feature more and switch from coffee to green tea. All of these are great. And then we had a really good bunch of things from Ted Lasso, which is apparently a television show.
It's great. It's one of those ones that's a shame it's only on Apple TV because it's a very niche sub to have, but Ted Lasso is amazing. Nice.
So he quoted Ted Lasso leadership lessons. So believe, live in the moment. Doing the right thing is never the wrong thing. All people are different people. Optimism is a superpower. Be kind. Tell the truth. Happiness is a choice. Forgive first and see the good in others, which are all lovely. I don't know what believe means, though.
I don't know. That's very inspiring, though.
There's a sign in the show that they all tap before they go out for every match. It's a football-based show, and they tap the sign, and it just says believe. And I think the point is you have to believe in the believe. It's like meta.
Right. So yeah, thank you for the feedback. It was really lovely to hear from you.
Yeah.
Cool. So on topic of keeping our habits, let's wrap up. Yeah. I think goals put a lot of pressure on yourself. I think we're just likely to put so much pressure on ourselves and then I can't remember the word. Flagellate ourselves when it fails, and stop beating yourself up for setting unrealistic goals and failing. It's okay. It doesn't matter. And I think that's probably the main thing. Habits are just nicer to set, although a lot more difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, they take longer, but they can also be a lot easier. Think about where you want to be, and don't worry so much about how you're going to get there. Just think about the behaviours that are going to support getting there, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The wash up.
Cool. Well, that's it.
It's a wrap
for another week. Yeah, we've enjoyed our conversation. We've enjoyed the little unexpected little surprises that we have at the start of every show. Hope you enjoyed it as well. Thank you for checking it out. Please do us a favor, hit that like, leave a comment, subscribe, tell a friend about it, and join us again next week.
Okay.
See you, everybody. Bye.
Tech Team Weekly.